5. Let me tell you, the dopamine, it's flowing.
I am damn excited. Damn excited.
We are so excited to be joining you guys tonight.
Oh!
Well, how you doing, man? Patrick.
Will Sterling.
Yeah.
Super Bowl champion, 2-time Pro Bowler, and Trent Green. Trent Green, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
And he picked it up! He picked it up! He's gonna score!
And we'll see you next week. But until then, as always, go Chiefs. Welcome in. It is Thursday, January 22nd. That means it is time for the OG Hour. Patrick Allen here with you, joined by my buddy, Arrowhead Addicts, draft expert, and all-around great guy, Price Carter. How you doing, Price?
I'm doing all right. Fighting off a little bit of a cold right now, but, it was time. Pretty much my whole family had it for like 2 weeks. I was able to fight it off for quite some time. My wife was actually mad that I was healthy, but she can be happy now that I am now sick. But we're on antibiotics. We're on the road to recovery. Maybe one day we will all not be sick.
Everybody is sick right now. Like all the people at work that I talk to with kids, the whole families are sick. We in the Allen household are not sick and have not been sick.
Rory did have a little.
I know, right?
Away.
Like it's just like you're just waiting, especially if you've got kids in daycare. You're just, and I thought for sure, like, okay, Christmas, the holidays, he's gonna go back. He's going to get sick the first week back because everybody's going to have swapped germs. And for some strange reason, he just hasn't really gotten sick. He hasn't given us anything. I feel great. And this time last year, it was his first year in daycare, first year as a person. He was sick all the time. We were sick more than we had ever been. I had COVID this week last year. And it's the week before I go to the Super Bowl. So I was like, this is great. I'm getting the COVID out of the way. I'll be good to go for the Super Bowl. And I get to the Super Bowl, and on Thursday in Radio Row, while I'm doing interviews, I was like, I've got a fever, and I went and had a bad night in my hotel room. So I'm just waiting for the other shoe to drop. I'm terrified, and if that wasn't bad enough, it's almost worse than being sick. Waiting for you're going to get something. And you're just like waiting for it. And if that's not bad enough, you ever see that movie The Day After Tomorrow?
Oh yeah. That's basically what's coming here, right?
That's right. Yeah. We're all gonna die in the next 48 hours. So here in Chicago, tomorrow, I'm gonna pull this up because it's ridiculous. So Rory's daycare is canceled tomorrow.
Oh, they're already preemptively calling it.
Yeah. They know. It's 24 degrees right now. That's cold, but tomorrow, let's do the actual temperature at 8 a.m. is going to be -10 here in Chicago. And the feels like temperature at that same time will be -25. It's so cold. My heat pump has frozen, and I've got a space heater over here because what's going to happen tomorrow? I'm going to have to work by the fireplace in the living room.
Yeah, I'm a big sucker. I'll plug, the grocery delivery services. Once I found that out, I'm never going back to grocery store ever. I can't handle it, man. I move at a different speed than most people. Everyone else is the slowest human in the world when I go to grocery store. I know what I need to do. I'm getting in, I'm getting out. We're getting onions, we're getting garlic, we're getting this. And I put in like a $250 grocery order earlier today. Should be at my house any minute now. Like, we're loading up. You got to get the milk, the eggs, the bread, got to make sure you got enough alcohol for the weekend. Like you got to have all the things. So yes, it is coming. The apocalypse is coming. It's funny. I feel like I'm responsible because I remember telling my wife like literally a week ago, I was like, you got me that snowblower for Christmas. I might not have to use it this year. That'd be kind of nice. Well, it's upstairs charging right now for a reason.
Shout out. Doing the grocery order now and not over the weekend. It's really, really, and those people are out shopping for you. Good on you for doing it ahead of. So not only is your family prepared, but poor out. It's -25. It's we last and I could to go. The problem is when you go to the grocery store yourself, she bought I wanted some ground beef, and she bought the family pack, and it was, I don't know, 3 pounds or something. And so it's just way too much food. So that's the problem, is you don't get to pick that stuff yourself. Oh, good. We're sorry we were having some internet issues. I've got a new computer. I don't think it's my internet. I think it might be my computer. It's behind me. I just have to get it up and running. So hopefully it will be smoother for the rest of the show. But we had a good show today. There's lots of news to talk about and lots of draft stuff. When you have Price Carter on your show during the off season, which sadly it is the off season for the Chiefs right now, you got to talk a little bit of the NFL draft. Price is doing great work over at arrowheadaddict.com. You got to make sure you're checking out his work. He's doing 100 prospects in 100 days. He's got his big board over there. So we're going to talk about some of that stuff in just a minute. But let's hop into the news really quickly, Price, for folks that haven't gotten to hear me talk about this yet. Eric Bieniemy is back. They're going to agree to terms. He was running backs coach for the Bears this season. Did a great job over there with Kyle Monangai, ran well. DeAndre Swift had one of his better seasons. Sure, some of that's likely due to Ben Johnson and his scheme, but you got to give EB credit as well. Are you happy with this move? I've seen the Chiefs Kingdom be pretty split on it.
Yeah, I think how we arrive at this location and this decision is kind of interesting. I come down to this. The process wasn't great. Like I tend to lean towards the idea that the Chiefs offense and the scheme of it has been a problem. And you just don't see them having the same advantages that other teams have had in the last couple of years. Their offense doesn't look like the best offenses in the NFL. All throughout the season, I've been tracking snaps under center and RPO. Chiefs are some of the lowest under center snaps in the league, and they're some of the highest RPO rates in the NFL. The teams that surround them in those areas are not good offenses. The teams that are still playing are the opposite. They don't run a lot of RPOs. They run a lot of under center. Likewise, the fact that the second Eric Bieniemy, like when Caleb Williams was dropping back 30 yards to complete that pass to Cole Kmet, I swear Andy Reid had already texted Eric Bieniemy and was like, "Hey, you want to come back?" And he's like, "Oh shit, he completed it." Well, when you're done, like if like they were that locked in on it's going to be Eric Bieniemy. And unless they're having secret meetings that we don't know and weren't reported, it sounds like they didn't interview anybody else or anything. And let's be real, that interview was just like, "Hey, man, you good to come back? All right, brother, we'll see you." Like, that process kind of stinks because I'm not sure that you can sit there and say this is the best person for the job. With all that thing being said, acknowledging the very obvious and clear fact that Andy Reid was not going to bring in someone from a different system, someone that wasn't in his tree, he's just not going to do it. Then I guess this is probably the best place you can arrive. I'm glad that they're not running it back with Matt Nagy. At the end of the day, I just think it was time for a change there. And I think it's pretty clear at this point that this is what a lot of the players wanted. Travis Kelce seems pretty happy about it, even hinting that he could be coming back. Patrick Mahomes seems happy about it. There's a lot of players who have really good things to say about Eric Bieniemy. And I think that this could be a situation where they realized what they had and didn't have once he left. And they probably missed some of the things that he had done as far as pushing them and that sort of thing. I guess the question is here, is Andy Reid going to fix the scheme? That is who the pressure is on. He is saying he is taking the onus on himself and saying, I need to make these things better. I can make these things better. Then I guess Eric Bieniemy is a good partner for Andy's scheme and enforcing it. So maybe we see some return back to the details, the tough coaching and stuff that they need. So do I love it? No, but you can talk me into it helping.
Yeah, I think it really comes down to whether or not you believe Andy can adjust the offense. Because let's be honest here. Andy Reid is the offensive coordinator of the Kansas City Chiefs. He always has been. He always will be until he decides to hang him up. He's not at a stage of his career where he's like, you know what, I'm really going to just be the executive coach. He's the offensive guy. That's his deal. And so I think it's blame do we want to place on Andy? Some people think he should have seen this coming. He should have made the changes. But I don't know. As you pointed out, one of the things that Bieniemy might bring its attention to D is how much of, in your estimate, problem it's all the scheme's bad, the scheme can't work anymore, and Andy should have known that and changed it before the season? Or is it more the scheme can work, we've seen it work, it's just that the players aren't equipped to execute it for one reason or another? Or is it somewhere in the middle there?
Yeah, and I think one of the things you're kind of talking about right now is kind of the other news, right? And that is the Chiefs have let go of about 5 or 6 offensive coaches, running back coach,
Yeah.
wide receiver coach, some offensive assistants. This is probably about the biggest turnover we've seen in the coaching staff since Andy Reid's come over, especially because most of this attrition is happening by via of being let go rather than promotions coming from other teams. So I think that they're saying that they believe in the scheme still, but the way that the scheme was being coached wasn't good enough. And that starts with Matt Nagy, and that goes on to Connor Embry, Todd Pinkston, some of the other coaches who have been let go. And if you want to tell yourself the story of this is what was wrong, then yeah, like the West Coast offense that the Chiefs very much still are. Andy Reid's one of the most pure West Coast offense guys still left in the league. It relies on spacing and timing. Well, if you're not paying attention to the details, then that's going to be hard. That wide receiver room, they need someone who has a commanding, strong voice in that room. There's a lot of youth in that room. There's a lot of immaturity in that room a little bit, on and off the field. So I think all those things are leading to the point of they think they can fix this. And look, Andy Reid has evolved over time. We've seen some big shifts in the offense over the years when he, took over the Chiefs to when they switched to Patrick Mahomes and then when they traded Tyreek Hill. Like those are 3 major marks that have changed the offense. Maybe this time off will give Andy Reid some time to reset, to plug in and kind of revamp the scheme. The only thing that I'm not really willing to listen to is that this is just going to completely shift and they're going to start looking like some of the McVay, Shanahan variants. Like they're still going to look like themselves. That's part of the reason why I get a little concerned when I hear this is the 150th mock draft with Jeremiah Love going number 9 to the Chiefs. It's like, well, if you're going to draft Jeremiah Love and give him 15 carries out of shotgun and that's it, I'm not sure that makes sense. I think there's certain offenses getting that type of running back at that pick. It could make sense because they're going to build the whole damn thing out of Bijan Robinson or Jahmyr Gibbs. But for the Chiefs, again, if they're just going to give him 12 carries out of shotgun, I might not be on board.
I'm really excited to see if Andy goes a little bit more under center. He has adjusted the offense before. And I keep ahead, and I'm interested to hear your answer to it, Price. If Andy Reid said suddenly magically became available to coach another team, to coach on another team, but what he said to the league was, hey, I don't want to be a head coach anymore. I just want to be an offensive coordinator. And every other offensive coordinator in the league became available. And then they got hired in order. Where would Andy get hired?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough, right? I think you look at what he brings just as a former head coach, obviously. And I do think that there is value to that, to having someone on the sidelines who's been the shot caller before, the person who has worked through troubles in a locker room or who has worked and managed a game, those type of things before. But I mean, it's not one. It's probably not one. And I think it's probably closer to that 5 to 10 range. And just knowing what type of presence he brings to a locker room, right? There's a great clip. I think they show it in the Kingdom documentary of Andy Reid back when he was the quarterback coach in Green Bay under Mike Holmgren. There's a play that Brett Favre doesn't execute, and Brett Favre throws an interception on a route that basically he read it wrong. And Mike Holmgren's just ripping Brett Favre a new one. And Andy walks up to Brett and Mike Holmgren and says, hey, that's on me. Bad call. I called the wrong call. Sent the wrong thing in. That's on me. And then Holmgren walks away saying something underneath his breath. And then Favre looks at him and he's like, what the heck? And he's like, don't worry about it. He gets too uptight. That's the type of guy Andy is. And he'd be a great offensive coordinator. I think he's the grandpa to sit down and put your hand on your knee and talk to you. And going back to the Eric Bieniemy thing, maybe that enforcement is part of what he needs. He needs someone who can have a red ass and get into people a little bit. But in the same breath, I think that would work great as an offensive coordinator if you have the right pairing, right? Like he's the type of guy you would love to bring in if you had a defensive guy. So yeah, I don't think that it's number one or number two for sure. I'm not entirely sure where that number would be. And again, going back to the fact that they don't necessarily look like every offense in the NFL right now.
It's interesting. And I don't know if I maybe he wouldn't be number one, but I still think he would be pretty high up there. Andy's ability to make less than stellar teams still score points is, I think, really, really undervalued, right? I think some of these guys that if you take them and you don't give them the right kind of personnel, they're all of a sudden not going to look so fancy. So Andy's got this track record over years and years and years of taking like an Alex Smith led offense where nobody was for most of his time in Kansas City, nobody was particularly terrified of Alex Smith and they weren't scared of the deep ball, but he still managed to win games, get them to the playoffs. And I think Chiefs fans have started to underrate him a little bit just because of the last couple of years when things haven't gone as well. And look, maybe he's lost his touch. A lot of people think that he's lost his touch. The game's passed him by. He's too stubborn, but I feel like he's got a pretty long career of showing that he can make changes. The way that he utilized Brian Westbrook in Philadelphia was different from the way that he was utilizing Isaiah Pacheco. You know what I mean? Like the way that he brought in Jerick McKinnon when the Chiefs offense was struggling and went to him a lot. And he had that great season, second half of the season. You know, we've seen Kareem Hunt, the way he used Kareem Hunt as a rookie running back. He gave him carries and he threw the ball to him a lot out of the backfield. So I do feel like he's pretty good at massaging his personnel to what he wants to accomplish. I just think last year, I think they expected a lot more out of the personnel that they had, and they weren't actually able to deliver. A combination of talent, immaturity, developmental issues, and those things. I'm not saying that if everything went the way that they had hoped, that they would have been the number one offense in the league, but they still were like, before everybody got hurt, I mean, they had a period there where they were putting up 400 yards a game for a little bit there.
Yeah, I think that there's like, it kind of comes back to the same thing. And like, I feel like I've written this 100 times and the draft work that I'm doing right now, like we can sit here and hum and haw over Tate or Lemon or Tyson in the first round or Jeremiah Love or whatever. But at the end of the day, like if the scheme doesn't evolve, it might not matter. Andy Reid is reaching a point that we've seen in other coaches' careers of similar age where they're not willing to change. We're bringing our sons onto the coaching staff. This is the Bill Belichick. This is the Pete Carroll, the way things, and there's a parallel to be made here. Sean McDermott, John Harbaugh. Like there's a lot of coaches that are being moved on from Mike Tomlin who are good coaches that a lot of teams would love to have, but because of the message getting stale, their inability to evolve, teams move on. And Andy Reid has earned a significant benefit of the doubt. I don't think that this is any time to start calling for his job or to even declare that he's not doing a good job. But the question remains, will he evolve? And he put more pressure on himself by bringing Eric Bieniemy back because it's very clear that he is putting the onus on himself. And if we're sitting here next year having the same conversation, I think the answer will be a little bit different.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. He does have to make changes. And it is on him. And I knew that this Bieniemy thing was probably the likely outcome. And I've been saying it on the show because I just didn't think that a Mike McDaniel why would he want to come to Kansas City unless he was going to be, if Andy was like, Mike, you're running the offense, you're calling the plays, you're the guy, then I think he'd consider it because he gets to, work with Patrick Mahomes, but he'd want everybody to know he's calling the plays and they would, but otherwise he's not going to come and sit there and jockey the plays from Andy to Patrick. Like that's not something that's going to do. So I knew that we were either going to get a Hummer looking for his first shot or a retread. And it's on Andy to change the narrative. You missed the playoffs with Patrick Mahomes. Whatever happened, Mahomes played long enough that you should not have been in playoff danger at all, and you were. So you've got to fix it. And he's certainly earned at least a season to do that. And I wish some Chiefs fans gave him a little bit more patience. But I get it. It's Patrick Mahomes. It's Patrick Mahomes in his prime. We shouldn't be sitting here watching Bo Nix in the playoffs and not Patrick Mahomes. It's just all there is to it. And that's not a shot at Bo Nix. He's done some really nice things this year, but we aren't talking about the same caliber of player here. Let's move on to the other coaching change that they had this week, Price, which is hired Chad O'Shea from O'Shea has spent the last few years with the Browns. He's spent about 10 years with the Patriots when they won those late Super Bowls. Sounds like I'm glitching again. Coming back. Yeah. Nothing I could do about that, unfortunately. It's probably dropping in and out right now. It's probably a squirrel chewing on the frozen internet.
It's really weird. It's just like it just comes and goes. Like sometimes it's really bad and then it's really fine. But yeah, the comments that Chad O'Shea and the comments from Rob Gronkowski are certainly really encouraging, especially when you think about like what the Patriots had at wide receiver during those times, right? Where, yeah, there was some talent. Obviously, we think about Randy Moss being there, but most of the rest of the wide receivers that were successes there were reclamation projects or guys who had limited like upside to begin with, like Julian Edelman, like Chris Hogan, like Danny Amendola, right? Like those are guys and detail orientated. Like this is the exact opposite of what Connor Embry was, where Connor Embry was a young guy that they were trying to give a chance to, and this is now a guy who can sit and bang his 3 rings on the table and say, hey, like this is what we're doing. Rashee Rice, like you need to finish through the end of a play when there's a scramble drill. Xavier Worthy, we have to figure out a way for you to be better at tracking the ball, getting your feet in bounds. And Jalen Royals, there's not anything we've seen from him yet. So there's certainly a large development curve there. And passing game coordinator under Kevin Stefanski, there's an offense that looks a lot more like a contemporary NFL offense. So I certainly value all those things. The Eric Bieniemy news pairing with the Chad O'Shea news and some of the other coaching changes that they have made and are still continuing to make, I think makes that a little bit more palatable, where it's like, okay, there are new voices in here. There are different perspectives being brought into the building that can hopefully just help them tweak this a lot. And to be clear, like, you've brought this up, the pendulum's probably swung too far. Like Andy Reid is not just complete bumbling idiot, and the Chiefs offense wasn't 32nd in the NFL with Mahomes and Kelce and all them. And we know the adversity that they faced this year with kind of a revolving door at left tackle this season, with the injury to Xavier Worthy, with the suspension to Rashee Rice, the limited play at quarterback play. And Andy Reid's made it very clear, even for him, which is saying something, that they don't think the running game was good enough. And that's a big part of it. I mean, hey, they're basically playing the game with one hand tied behind their back because teams really don't care if they run the ball. Run the ball for all we care about. We're defending the pass.
Yeah. And this is what Gronkowski said about O'Shea. He said, I'm pumped about it. Chad O'Shea is responsible. I wouldn't say responsible for Randy Moss and Wes Welker's career in New England. I would say he's responsible for Julian Edelman's career in New England. That's for sure. And later he added, I would just say he's a top prospect, a top guy, probably a top 3 wide receiver coach in the NFL. There's no doubt about that. So this is a guy who's a Hall of Famer, one of the greatest to ever do it, both as a blocker and a pass catcher, praising O'Shea. So that's good news if you're a young receiver or pass catcher in Kansas City, that somebody that like Gronkowski, who probably didn't need very much coaching, just because of his raw talent, is singing his praises. So I'm excited about that. And then the last thing I want to hit on before we get to some of our draft talk is Travis Kelce. You alluded to it earlier in the show. It sort of feels like he's coming back. Earlier in the offseason on New Heights, he said he'd like to keep playing if he thought his body could handle it, something along those lines. And then this week he was asked about EB coming back, and he said, I can't wait to see him in the building. Now, look, that's not a slam dunk that he's coming back, but is that your feel on it, that just kind of seems like he's not going away?
Yeah, I would say that if we're picking up the breadcrumbs and stuff like that, we certainly feel like that's where it is, which is saying something, because usually when guys step away from the game, that's probably where they have the best perspective on when to step away. Obviously, I've never retired, period, and I've not retired from playing NFL football. But just listening to guys who have left the game, they usually know when it's time to leave, when they've been away from the game and they don't miss it. You think about Tyrann Mathieu, who retired a week into training camp this year, where like he felt it and then he came back and he realized, okay, yeah, it's not for me. And obviously, Jason is going to be his biggest counsel on when is the right time for him to step away. But the fact that things finished the way that they did, and he's away from the game right now and still saying or alluding to the fact that he wants to come back. Yeah, I do think it is. And there's a lot of work to be done, right? Like the Chiefs are the second most team over the cap of any team in the league right now. And Travis Kelce isn't under contract. He's technically a free agent.
Yeah.
A lot of your like free agent predictions are going to have Isaiah Likely or Kyle Pitts coming to the Chiefs to replace Travis Kelce. I know Todd McShay has put Kenyon Sadiq at pick 9 to the Chiefs in his most recent mock to replace Travis Kelce. The Chiefs are a better football team in 2026 with Travis Kelce on the team. He was still a productive player. They need to find a path to replacing him long term. It would be great if they tried to replace him before he left, which at this point they have failed to do. And they also need to continue to figure out what is the best version of Travis Kelce. I continue to think he plays more snaps than he needs to. But he was a much improved player this year than he was last year. I think he had an argument for second team All-Pro. If there was a third team All-Pro, I think he'd probably make that, but there's not. But he had a good season. And I think having the success he had last year as a player helps him. But also, like, let's be clear, there's almost 2 losses that you could put on Travis Kelce.
Yeah.
On whether it be the Xavier Worthy thing, which is kind of a freak thing, the pass to him in the Eagles game, like that turned into an interception. He had another one of those in the Commanders game. Like they ended up winning that game. But the Chiefs, they have to get in a position where Travis Kelce is closer to what late stage Jason Witten was, where he's a move the sticks role player. Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, or whatever offensive playmaker they might take or assign this year, those guys need to be the leaders of the offense. And Travis Kelce needs to be an auxiliary piece, not the leader in receiving yards, which he was this year.
And I'm with you. Find his like if I don't know if they want to try to get a guy like Kyle Pitts, if they want to try to get an Isaiah Likely, get those dudes in the building with Travis Kelce now, because those are 2 guys who have a ton of raw talent who maybe haven't. They definitely haven't achieved what their ceilings might be. So imagine getting the chance to work with a Travis Kelce, learn from a Travis Kelce, and all the, not just the, the knowledge that he has playing the position, but all the stuff that we know Kelce has upstairs and the way that he sees the field like a quarterback, being able to really relay that to those guys so that maybe one of them can develop into not a Travis Kelce, but we saw the clips of Travis during the 13 seconds drive and how important having a good head on your shoulders is. So I would love that. And I hope he comes back, and it's going to have to be on a team friendly deal because the Chiefs don't have any money. Listen, we're going to talk off season and the draft here, but really quickly, I've been really behind on this, and I'm sorry, but our December giveaway for Arrowhead Addict members, if you want to become a member of the Arrowhead Addict podcast, check out the link in the description. Now's a great time to get into the Discord and chop it up with everybody about the draft. Live events, members only things. We do things like this, like the December giveaway to our members. Our Ring of Honor tier winner for the Trent McDuffie jersey for December was our guy, Evan Warner. Evan, you're getting a Trent McDuffie jersey. They might trade him, and I'm sorry if they do. Let us know if you want to call an audible, but Trent McDuffie jersey for Evan Warner. Producer Joanne will be in touch. And then the Chiefs hat is going to Andrea Schuster. Andrea Schuster wins for the other tiers. Chiefs hat will be in touch on Discord. So thank you to all of our members for their support. And if you want to be in on special giveaways and things like that are for members only, check out the link in the description. It's a great way to support the show. Also, shout out to Black Elf, Isaiah, who won the Arrowhead Addict members only fantasy football league. There were 2 leagues, and he had the highest score out of everybody. And he is going to be taking home a Noel Williams jersey. So he requested that one specifically, and we're going to hook him up with that as well. So, I mean, why wouldn't you want to be a member of the Arrowhead Addict podcast? All right, let's dive into I want to talk prospects, but before we get to the draft price, just one question for you. As we know, the draft happens after the initial rush of free agency. So what positions do you want to see the Chiefs try to address before the draft in free agency? You're muted.
I think for certain, if we had to rank like what are they most likely to sign, I would be shocked if they come out of free agency, the first wave or second wave, without some sort of running back. Simply put, I think that will also probably be the biggest domino to fall for their draft board, because that's probably going to tell us what they do. If they go out and participate in that first tier of running back free agents, Breece Hall, Travis Etienne, Kenneth Walker, I think the idea of them taking a Jeremiah Love or maybe a Jadarian Price or an Emmett Johnson or someone like that high up in the draft will probably go down quite a bit. They're speaking to, we're going to invest real money into a guy that's going to be our RB1. Then there's that kind of second wave, right? Like you think about Tyler Algier, some other guys like that. Then you could still say like, all right, we're going Jeremiah Love and Tyler Algier. We've completely made over this running back room. We still have a buy low on Brashard Smith as well too. Tight end, we kind of just talked about that with Kelce as well too. Obviously Wiley and Gray are still on the roster. You can cut Noah Gray this year, and he's cheaper to cut than keep. I will also say that he took a big step back in productivity and blocking this year. So that's something to look at too, as far as the tight end position. Obviously, they still have Jake Brenningschool, who was a priority UDFA for them that they were pretty high on. So maybe that's something. And let's be clear, Jared Wiley was a healthy scratch most of the year. I will be shocked if they don't invest somewhere along the defensive line as well too. Mike Dana, another guy who is cheaper to cut than keep. And someone here in the chat brings this up too, is that like there's a lot of their own guys too that are hitting free agency. Leo Chanel, Jalen Watson, Brian Cook. There's several of their own guys that they could look to bring back as well too. So if I had to have my guess, a defensive line signing, whether that be interior or edge, I think that there's certainly some need for growth there in the edge room. Right now, it's basically Gelati, Dana, and Karlaftis, and that's about it. And then a running back. Running back, obviously, I think that one's the biggest domino to fall, like I said, just because I think it's going to tell us a lot about what their strategy is to approaching the position.
There are two guys that could be available, Breece Hall and Travis Etienne. If you had your pick between those two, which one would you sign?
I think they might lean Etienne a little bit, even though they did have some interest around Breece Hall. Obviously, Etienne wasn't available because of where the Jaguars were as far as the playoffs go. Etienne, they have seen in their scheme. Doug Peterson was his coach for several years, ran the Andy Reid system. They're going to know exactly what they get in him. And I think it's tough because Etienne was a first-round pick, whereas Breece Hall was a second-round pick. I think they'll probably lean Etienne. I lean a little bit more towards Breece Hall because you look at Breece Hall's numbers in the passing game. I think he's been I think he profiles a little bit more as a pure three-down back, whereas Etienne, most of the time he's been there, like they brought in Tank Bigsby, they brought in Bashal Tootin. It's pretty clear that he's best when he's in a good 1-2 combo. And I like Breece Hall in the passing game a little bit more. And Breece Hall is very young still. So, but I think Breece Hall will be more expensive. And let's be clear, Zach Charbonnet getting hurt for the Seahawks and Kenneth Walker having the big games he's having. Like if we're sitting here watching the NFC Championship game and Kenneth Walker's going off, like his price tag is only going up doing that on the big stage. So, and he's another guy I could see them loving because of his speed. And he runs like, this is going to turn off some people, but he's kind of Isaiah Pacheco-ish in how he runs, in the sense of like sometimes he outruns his run lanes, but he's just so freaking dynamic that he can like access spaces that other players can't. He's a very no, yes runner sometimes. And he has games sometimes where he looks like he's the best running back in the NFL.
But he does hit home runs, which Isaiah Pacheco doesn't do.
Yes. Yeah. There's some very clear differences there too.
Yeah. Okay, really quickly, some folks are talking about in the chat. What do you think the Chiefs do with Leo Chanel? There are some interesting linebacker candidates in this draft. I know it probably doesn't excite a lot of Chiefs fans to think about a good player leaving and then being replaced by somebody in the draft. Do you think they're going to bring him back? And do you think they should bring him back?
Yeah, I mean, this just screams like a luxury that has been great to have. Leo Chanel's role is super unique, but even this year he played about 54% of the snaps. And keep in mind, teams, they wanted Leo Chanel on the field because they know that that was a target in coverage. It's great to have him. It's great to have his flexibility, but at the end of the day, like I don't think that they can sign another linebacker. They're going to have to make do. There's lots of guys in the draft that can fill various roles for them, and I do think that they have to move on from him. And great player. If he wants to come back on a cheap deal, if he doesn't get what the market has, then yeah, you'll totally have him back. But yeah, I think that this is a place that you look at. And honestly, if I was the Chiefs, I would. I saw someone in the chat comment here. I adore Sonny Styles from your Ohio State Buckeyes. I think he's one of the best linebacker prospects we've had come out since Roquan Smith. His ability to shed blocks and crash downhill and still cover the pass at 6'3", 220 pounds, who's on the freaks list for Bruce Feldman. Like, if the Chiefs took Sonny Styles at 9, I would be elated. I'd probably be the only one, but only if the Chiefs were committed to transitioning him to the true 3-down green dot Mike linebacker and Nick Bolton to the Sam, to the strong side, because Nick Bolton, he is that crash downhill run defender, and you still have his brains on the field too. But I don't trust them to do that, and I feel like Nick Bolton will be on the field until I hit the grave, honestly, because that's just how much Spags loves him.
All right, we're going to talk about, it's a good transition to start talking about the NFL draft. But first, have you heard of Gold Belly? I don't know if you've heard, I know you have, Price, because you got some fantastic food from them. It's this amazing site. I order from it all the time, where you can get the most iconic food all across. It's perfect for game day, Valentine's Day, anything like that. Gold Belly will ship you iconic deep dish pizza from Lou Malnati. The original buffalo wings from Anchor Bar. Isn't that what you got, Price? Didn't you get the buffalo wings?
Yeah, I got the buffalo wings we did for a Christmas party. The quality was great. They send you and you don't have to worry about not getting their sides either. Like, I got their blue cheese. You get instructions on how to set it up. I got their buffalo sauce. They hook you up with all the fixings. That's great.
It's unbelievable. One of my favorite sponsors we've ever had. They sent me an entire brisket. That was amazing. Fed us for like 4 days. So Valentine's Day is coming up. They've got great gifts like award-winning dinners from Peter Luger's Steakhouse, the world-famous macaroons from Luderie, the exact cake served at JFK's wedding to Jackie O. I've talked, I think, about the Christmas pie cakin' that I ordered a few years ago from Gold Belly. So, you got to check it out. Sorry, I lost my place in the read. So if you're looking to turn game day into an unforgettable experience with friends, or you want to impress a loved one on Valentine's Day, go to goldbelly.com and get 20% off your first order with promo code Arrowhead. That's goldbelly.com, code Arrowhead for 20% off your first order. All right, let's talk about the draft price. So who are your top 3 prospects? Period. Forget about the Chiefs. Just who are the top 3 players in your estimation in this draft? And then who are your top 3 targets the Chiefs should target?
So I last week evaluated David Bailey, the edge from Texas Tech. And I've decided that the best way for me to evaluate how much I love a prospect is how much I just sit and kind of like laugh and chuckle to myself watching their tape. Yeah. There was a lot of that. Like, my comp for David Bailey, Shark Week. Like, the videos of the great whites jumping out of the water, tossing seals around. I adore David Bailey's tape. I think he's better against the run this year at Texas Tech than he was given credit for. Just has so many ways to win. His pass rush bag is excellent. Is an insane athlete. He's on the freaks list. He's my number 1 prospect. I don't know if the Chiefs will feel that way, but like I said, when I watch him, I feel things that I don't feel other players. And so he's my number 1. I've got Ruben Bain at number 2, the edge out of Miami. He is very Chiefs coded. I think, people will bring up the arm length with him, which is, by the way, can we let the guy measure his freaking arms first? Like, people have already decided that this guy is a full T-Rex. It's like, well, okay, he might have T-Rex arms, but he's a literal T-Rex on the field. Okay. He kicks ass. If you watch any of that play, the college football playoffs, you see how he impacts the game on a snap to snap basis. And for number 3, I have Caleb Downs, the safety from Ohio State. I think he is the highest floor, safest pick in this draft. And that's something that I come back to time and time again with this draft. The Chiefs cannot miss at pick 9. If you tell me, okay, safety, running back, positional value, yada, 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 Caleb Downs, his floor is a very good safety in the NFL. His ceiling is a perennial all-pro, best safety in the league, Kyle Hamilton-esque player. You look at the teams that are still playing in the NFL right now, you see teams with great safety play who are making plays game after game. Like Nick Emanwari, very different style player because Emanwari is a much bigger player than and much more downhill player than Downs is. But like the team's ability, because that's what the Seahawks do. The Seahawks, they throw dime defense out there every time, and they're just big enough in dime that they don't care if you try to run the ball on them because they can still defend it. They're like the anti-Chiefs, where the Chiefs are going to match personnel. They're like, no, this is what we're doing. We're dictating to you instead of the other way around. So
Right.
Downs, Bain, Bailey are my top 3, and Love sitting at 4.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you what, man. Downs, I just feel like he's perfect for Spags. Spags would like anything. He could put him anywhere. Spags loves guys like that.
Yeah, and I think like Bain, the thing with him, and people need to remember too that outliers are outliers for a reason. There's a reason why certain players aren't drafted at those certain variables, but there's also a whole other part of their profile, right? Bain can reduce inside and has been really good on the inside. You see, there's a snap of him against Ole Miss where 3 players block him from the 4-tech, like basically rushing over the guard. So yeah, that versatility is something that's special for him. And I think he, there are some ways that you can look at him and say like, okay, well, if he's not this, high-end level edge rusher, is he Kalijah Cansey? Is he a smaller interior defensive lineman who can still raise hell from the interior? I just come back to his first step is pretty special for a guy of his size. And you haven't seen a Chiefs pass rusher move like that since Justin Houston. And I truly believe his ability to set the edge and stuff just makes him a really high floor prospect. His ability to move across the line is. And, I feel confident enough about him on the inside that the arm length concerns don't concern me as much as other players.
All right, so I got a few questions for you. I want to do. I mocked up draft and you on, and then I'm going to put you on the Chiefs at number 9, just as a fun little exercise here. Okay, so number 1, Fernando Mendoza goes to the Raiders. Caleb Downs goes to the Jets at number 2. Arvell Reese to the Cardinals at number 3. Bain goes to the Titans at 4. Jordan Tyson, the wide receiver, goes to the Giants at 5. Jeremiah Love goes to the Browns at 6. I don't see them doing that, but that's how it shook out. David Bates at Washington at 7. And interior goes to the 8. Drafting.
Yeah, so the top 2 edges there are off the board with Bain and Bailey. Downs is off the board as well too, and Love. So those are my top 4 guys. I would probably take a look at Carnell Tate at that instance. I think Tate brings a lot of things. Like I think that Tate can be an improved version of what the Chiefs wanted with Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Tate is 6'3", 200 pounds, ranks in the 99th percentile of contested catch rate. Like he is a contested catch monster. And he has been very good down the field. He is like my comp for him is just a little bit thinner George Pickens as far as the way he moves. There's not much yak threat with him, similar to MVS. And I think that he could complement Rice and Worthy quite a bit, where you've got your Rice in middle of the field underneath, power slot. You've got Xavier Worthy as kind of that gadget do-it-all guy, and then Carnell Tate's a guy who can line up on the outside, stretch the defense, and take the top off it as well too. I would sniff around Tyson. I think Tate has the higher floor between him and Tyson. Like one of the things I think about Tate is like he's never been a 1, right? Like he's always been next to Marvin Harrison Jr., Emeka Buka, Jackson Smith and Jigba, and he's been a very good 2. But he's never had that 1,200-yard, 9-touchdown season. Tyson has the higher ceiling of the 2 players, but has missed significant time almost every season due to a variety of injuries. He's got the best like highlight tape moves. I would also sniff around Mekhi Lemon. This is a little bit more of a divisive prospect. He's the Blitnikoff winner. He's right now he's listed at 5'11" and 200 pounds. My concern is he goes to the combine and that's 190 and 5'9" because of how variable college measurements are. But Pocket Puka Nakua is what I've called him, or Amon-Ra St. Brown with the USC helmet. He's so good out of the slot. He is better in contested catch situations than you'd expect a player of his size. The yak is excellent. He blocks his butt off. He's great after the catch. He's a great route runner. Like, there's a lot to really love from Mekhi Lemon. And let's be clear, I'm not sure that the Chiefs have, or Rashid Rice has shown you anything that you'd be like, oh, no, we can't take a player who's best out of the slot. Like, all the things I'm describing about Mekhi Lemon are things that you would say about Jackson Smith-Njigba, about Amon-Ra St. Brown, about some of those receivers who came out with that slot-only label and have just been really, really good players. You said Peter Woods, right? Peter Woods is off the board.
Yeah, Peter Woods is there. Still got Carnell Tate-Styles. Your guy Sonny Styles is there. Lemon, Jermon McCoy, Keldrick Falk. Some Chiefs fans really like him.
Yeah, I speak a little bit to Keldrick Falk because I do think that there's some disdain among Chiefs fans with Keldrick Falk. I think what you're looking at with Keldrick Falk is you're looking at a really special athlete. He's number 9 on the freaks list. He's going to be one of the youngest players on the draft. He will still be 20 on draft day. And you're looking at a profile that still has an immense upside, right? Like, his ability to move laterally and explode out of his stance. To be clear, the pass rushing profile, it's not as high as other players have been in this class. It's not Reuben Bain, it's not David Bailey, who are players that might go with that same pick. However, his ability for upside is about as high as any player in the class. Just because of the athlete that he is, the age he is, he's a high scheme level fit. He's a day one edge setter that you feel great about there. And then with growth and development, like, he's got to build like a Myles Garrett. Obviously, I do not think he's Myles Garrett, but he has that type of build where it's just like, this guy is bigger and stronger than everyone else, and there's nothing you can do about it. The difference here is just with him, again, we're talking about the Chiefs cannot miss at pick 9. There's a chance that Keldrick Falk goes more Shamar Stewart, not that bad because he was terrible this year, more Shamar Stewart than he does turn out to be just that like generational thing. And you see teams do this every year. There's a reason why the Raiders are the team that they are, because they take Tyree Wilson in the top 10, who's all traits in no production, right? Like, so the pressures and stuff with Folk are a little bit better. So he's another name. I know Kent Swanson, I DM with him pretty frequently. He loves Folk, and I think that he sees the upside there. This draft particularly, especially at pick 9, I like measuring the floor. So I think with all these picks, I'd probably go Carnell Tate because I feel like he's a need. He's a valuable piece. Great number 2, and he feels like the safest pick there.
Do you think Tate could develop into a true wide receiver 1? I mean, a lot of people said about Emeka Egbuka, right? Like, he was always the second fiddle because of all these other great receivers they had. I know his second season, his offense kind of fell apart. Baker Mayfield wasn't playing well, but he the rookie and was a team. Do you see that as a possibility for because I think like Chiefs fans, they're talking about drafting the top 10. They have visions of Justin Jefferson dancing in their heads, and that's probably not in this draft, right?
Yeah, and I think so. I think when you talk about whether it be Emeka Egbuka, Jackson Smith-Njigba, some of these guys, even Amon-Ra St. Brown, like, you start listing the best wide receivers in the NFL, it usually takes you a little bit to get to Amon-Ra St. Brown. And I do think that there is something to be said, like, true 1-1 wide receivers. Those are guys like Jamar Chase. Those are guys that you can game plan around and whatever, but guess what? They're still going to win. I don't see Tate becoming that, only because his physical profile isn't so overwhelming that he can just like out body people. And he doesn't have like a true calling, we'll go with Jamar Chase. Like, his calling card is explosive athleticism before and after the catch, and then surprising strong ability contested catch, right? Like, he is 6 foot 200 pounds, but he's still so good in those situations. I don't see that with Tate, but I think he can be a high end. Like, do I think he can be Jackson Smith-Njigba? Sure, I do. I do think he can be that type of player. Different types of players, but do I think can he be that type of one? Because he is the Seahawks one, and they build that entire offense through him. Now, I do think that he can be taken out of a game a little bit more, but like, let's be clear. The best offenses in the NFL, they usually have more than one or two passing options. And if you can get a Devontae Smith, if you can get that complimentary number 2, who's a high end 2, that's still really valuable. So I do like him. I do think that he has the possibility to be a high end 2, a low end 1, depending on how it's going with the rest of the offense.
Okay. All right. So the Chiefs sitting at number 9, there's some really high end prospects in this draft that maybe are going to be gone when you talk about the edge rusher and those things and how much of a premium is put on that. Do you advocate for the Chiefs moving up a little bit if it means getting a top edge?
Yeah, I just can't get behind it. I'm not sure that there is this Myles Garrett level prospect as far as edge prospect that's going to be there. Like, I really do like Bain, I really do like Bailey, but like, there's things to be concerned about there with this. And this is a pretty underwhelming class. And the Chiefs, their draft capital, it's not what it should be. They have to continue to get cheaper. Honestly, I'd be a bigger advocate of them trading down than trading up. I just don't see a player that I'm going to be elated with. I mean, if they want to do some small, like 9-7, because they really love Ruben Bain, I'm okay with that because it might cost like a 4th or a 5th. But, this just isn't the class for it. And if we were a couple of years ago and they wanted to make some big trade up to jump the Chargers and draft Joe Alt because they felt that was left tackle the future, I could totally believe it because I thought Alt was, a really, really special left tackle prospect. But I can't get behind it this year. Right now, like, my dream kind of, and this is what I did on my Primetime Prospects little mini podcast, is I had the Steelers jump up and take Ty Simpson with the Chiefs pick. Chiefs trade back, pick up an extra 1 or an extra 3. A 1 for 2027 and a 3 for this draft. Like, that's the dream, actually.
Oh man, the Steelers. I think Chiefs fans would melt down though. I think they're so excited. Everyone's so excited to be picking so high to move back to around where the Steelers, and they'd be in the 20s, right?
Yeah.
So.
They're 21, but I mean, you just got to look at, like, for instance, the Eagles and the Texans both eliminated early in the playoffs. Both teams have 6 picks in the top 4 rounds because they continually are rolling picks back. The Texans traded out of the first round a year or 2 ago, and they've just continually rolled those picks back. And that's where you get those big hits that they need. And the bill's going to come due on all these players. Like, we're talking about the second wave of players, your Creed Humphrey, your Trey Smith, Trent McDuffie, players who need to be paid. And that's where that cheap talent comes from. And then you do get those hits like a Puka Nacua in the 5th round or something like that. So it's no coincidence that the best draft that Brett Veach has ever had also featured the most picks he's ever had.
All right. I don't love it. It makes sense, but I don't love it because I'm hoping that they strike gold there at number 9. But you're right. They need capital. They're expensive. Patrick's ballooning salary is coming. They're going to have to look at restructuring him. They have to get under the cap, and they need assets. Okay, before we go, I know it's the Super Bowl hasn't happened yet. It's January 22nd, so there's a lot of developments that could happen between now and then. They'll start hyping up quarterbacks that people don't think are first-round quarterbacks. All of a sudden, they'll be talked about as top 10 guys. Like, that always happens. But right now, as we sit here on January 22nd, who are the Chiefs taking at number 9?
Oh, man, it's tough. It's really tough. I personally think it'll probably be Peter Woods or Keldrick Folk. I think that they'll like Peter Woods' pass rushing profile has actually been amongst, especially when you factor in the year before. Like, every Clemson prospect we talk about this year, it's going to be, well, the year before they were really good. This year they really kind of stunk because Clemson in general sunk. But I think it's probably Peter Wood or Keldrick Folk. I think that they'll really like both their profile. I think defensive line's the biggest need. I think they addressed running back in free agency. Like, I do think that they will go after a Breece Hall, Kenneth Walker, or a Travis Etienne, and that will be the approach. And then they'll tackle, they'll tackle wide receiver maybe on day 2. So that would be my guess, a defensive line player, Bain if he's there. So, like, if you gave me Bain, Folk, and Woods, and versus the field, I'd probably take that.
What's the deepest position group in this draft?
It's a really good linebacker year. Sonny Styles, Anthony Hill, the linebacker from Texas, CJ Allen, the linebacker. There's some nice day 2 and 3 options. Aiden Fisher, the linebacker you saw on the field for Indiana. There's a guy from TCU that I really like who's kind of like a hybrid Sam. Linebacker is really strong. I think it's an underrated wide receiver class. I definitely think like there's different strokes for all sorts of folks as far as what you have with the wide receiver core. And then offensive line is the interior offensive line is really lacking this year. I do think it's a decent edge class going into day 2 with guys like Zion Young, defensive tackle. I will shout out defensive tackle. You saw the defense. I can't remember his name. Defensive tackle from Miami was playing really well. You got Dante Corleone, the Godfather. We just talked about Peter Woods, Big Citrus, Dominic Orange, Lee Hunter, Texas Tech guy. This might be defensive tackle. I'm talking myself into defensive tackle. It might be the best position in the class.
Big Citrus is an incredible nickname. That's
There's some great
unbelievable.
ones.
Yeah. All right. We got to get out of here. Thank you, everybody, so much for watching the show. Price, where can everybody get more of your content these days?
You can follow me on Twitter at Price A Carter, and then the 100 Prospect has got its own tab on the Arrowhead Addict website. We're putting out a prospect every single day. I have 72 more to go. I'm a little bit ahead of the website. Prospect number 16 just published today. It's Casey Concepcion, who Andy Reid will be salivating over, a small, shifty wide receiver who's really fast.
What a perfect name for a Kansas City Chief.
Yeah, they drafted a wide receiver named Royals and a wide receiver named Casey.
Yeah, indeed. All right. Thank you, everybody, so much for joining us. We'll be with our regular slate of shows for the rest of the week and into next week. Thank you to producer Joanne for keeping us on track. And I'll work on my internet and computer issues and hopefully have it fixed for you next week. We'll see you guys. Until next time, as always, go Chiefs.